So officially welcome everyone. Thank you for joining, Deirdre, Katie, and John. So John, you were sharing something about the course?
Oh, I was just reading last night or this morning, actually, again, section 4 of chapter 5, teaching and healing, which I guess you did on Sunday, actually. It's such a beautiful passage. It's a really beautiful passage. I mean, a lot of the passages are quite challenging, and I've spent quite a lot of time figuring it out. But that is just a really smooth and beautiful passage, especially the last paragraph.
Okay. Do you want to read the last paragraph for us then?
Yeah.
I'll bring it up on screen if you like. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so where are we? Miracle. So it was Sundays, huh?
Yeah.
Section
4 of chapter 5.
Section 4. Okay, let's go back to that. Yesterday was good as well. The ego's use of guilt was that was very revealing. Yesterday evenings. Okay, teaching and healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So read paragraph 1.
What fear has hidden still is part of you. Joining the at-one-ment is the way out of fear. The Holy Spirit will help you reinterpret everything that you perceive as fearful and teach you that only what is loving is true. Truth is beyond your ability to destroy, but entirely within your ability to accept. It belongs to you because, as an extension of God, you created it with Him. An extension of pure formless awareness, you created it with it. It is yours because it is part of you, just as you are part of love because it created you. Nothing that is good can be lost because it comes from the Holy Spirit, from
Yeah, you want a translation of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah. The awareness of oneness.
Yeah, or the remembrance of oneness.
Oneness, the voice for creation. Nothing that is not good was ever created and therefore cannot be protected. The at-one-ment is the guarantee of the safety of main of formless awareness, and the union of the extension of love is its protection. The ego cannot prevail against the kingdom domain because the sonship extension of pure formless awareness is united. In the presence of those who hear the Holy Spirit's call to be as one, the ego fades away and is undone. The whole section is nice. It was the last paragraph that really kind of stood out for me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, not the first one.
Number 8, yeah.
How can you also wholly suffer? Okay, well, let's ask someone else to read that. Deirdre, you want to read that for us?
How can you, who are so holy, suffer? All your past except its beauty is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. I have saved all your kindnesses and every loving thought you ever had. I have purified them of the errors that hid their light and kept them for you in their perfect radiance. They are beyond destruction and beyond guilt. They come from the remembrance of oneness within you, and we know that what love creates is eternal. You can indeed depart in peace because I have loved you as I have loved myself. You go with my blessing and for my blessing. Hold it and share it, that it may always be ours. I place the peace of love in your heart and in your hands to hold and share. The heart is pure to hold it, and the hands are strong to give it. We cannot lose. My judgment is as strong as the wisdom of love, in whose heart and hands we have our being. His quiet children are his blessed extensions of love. The thoughts of love are with you.
Yeah, this is a lovely passage, isn't it? You do get these really feel good passages in the course that are almost prayers. A very kind of poetic, prayerful feel, that sentence. So anything stand out for you, John or Deirdre?
Well, I think it's just a lovely passage for a funeral setting.
Okay.
I think it's a lovely departing.
Yeah. See, that's
lovely
true.
notion of departure. Well, not departure, but passage. And transition.
Yeah, we cannot lose.
Yeah.
Thoughts of God are with you. Very comforting.
I have purified them of the errors that hid their light, and kept them for you in their own perfect radiance. And number 4 there. It's lovely.
I hear it with, it just feels very, very tender. It feels like, oh golly, we are so innocent. Yeah, just, I'm really touched by how much, like if we could really rest in the truth of that, and then the innocence, just that there is no guilt, there is only love. And I find it touches me deeply. It touches me deeply. And particularly the bit, all your past except its beauty is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. Yeah, and in some ways, I guess when I hear that, there's, a lot of my past was a place of separation. And it felt very turbulent. And there's something just very beautiful to realize that love was present in that turbulent, like it was only love. And the illusion of the rest is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. Yeah, it's very, very beautiful.
It is indeed, and he's using the words to arouse our hearts, to wake us to that presence in ourselves that feels that so strongly and yearns for that. It's like, I just want to feel that loving presence and let go of all the thoughts of separation from the past, the future. Be willing to drop it all and surrender. That's what he's talking about here, really. Place the peace of God in your heart and in your hands to hold and share. Asking us to just surrender to that presence and then share it. Heart is pure to hold it, and the hands are strong to give it. So it's the idea of, I am that being. I am that I am, this presence. And then the hands are strong to give it is the expression of it. To express or extend it to your brothers, and that becomes your purpose in this world, which we're busy with, really considering at the moment. Like, okay, so how do I express this or extend this in the world? Because he's saying, over and over, yes, you can hold it, but as you give it, you express it, then you know that it's yours, and then you come to know more fully that that's what you are. So your purpose becomes how you learn this, that this presence is you.
That theme is coming through at this part of the text, isn't it? Very much.
Yes.
It's in various sections.
Well, he wants you to extend it so that you come to know that it's yours, because you can't extend what you don't have. And there seems to be, if you look at anyone who's had a so-called spiritual life, there seems to be a call to share this, and extend it to your brothers, to teach. Almost every sort of master from every tradition has taught in some way, haven't they? So they would teach verbally, or they'd write books, but there's this feeling of this need to kind of express it to others. It's not just kept for oneself.
But Jono,
Hmm?
you say, yeah, that's interesting that you put it in words like that, because I can remember that you also referred to A Course in Miracles to the part which is about that we always teach.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why some people take also the make as it's like for people who are not reading A Course in Miracles, they will say, oh, these people are teaching spiritual stuff because they speak about it, and the people who are enlightened and don't speak, they are not teaching it. And then we come with A Course in Miracles and show them, well, they also teach it, because you can never not teach.
Yeah, and I suppose technically if you went into a cave or something and you weren't seeing anyone for 20 years, then you're not directly teaching anyone, but you're still affecting the quantum field. You're on a mind level. So we affect everyone all the time on that level. But the level of the hands, hands symbolize, okay, well, you're actually going to do something in the world. So it's more about, okay, well, it's an active expression. So if you're interacting with people, then you teach them by your words and by your actions what you believe in. You're saying, well, that's yes, we're all teaching all the time, because we're interacting with people, and you teach them what you believe by your words and your action.
I think that's really tricky. Like this is it. This can really become a philosophical discussion, because people are going to Ramana Maharshi and sit there, because like he's in some way active, but not in a way like worldly active. Or is he? It's like it's hard to explain, because something is happening.
He did teach. He did teach. He gave discourses.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time he spent in meditation. But if someone came to him at 2 a.m. in the morning and said, I want an audience, then, his followers who ran the ashram would say, okay, he'll see you, because he was in a super conscious state of meditation most of the time. So he didn't sleep as we, think of, sleep unconscious. He was just, and so they'd kind of go to him and rouse him, say, there's someone to see you. And he'd say, bring them in, whatever the time is. His time wasn't, he wasn't like, oh, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. In fact, that wasn't, he was always available to whoever, and no charge. People could come anytime, day or night, and he'd give them an audience and listen to them and give them very simple teachings. He would just say, who suffers? So they tell him the story of themselves and why they're here, and he'd say, well, who suffers? And they kind of go, me. And he said, okay, so who's me then? And so it's a direct pointer to the self, like who is it that suffers? And maybe that's not who you are. And that was his method, very direct inquiry into, like, okay, just that simple question, who suffers? Or who thinks? Or who's the doer? And then he'd get people to really start questioning their ego that way. So yeah, I mean, he gave teachings, and there were books. I don't think he actually wrote them, but he spoke them, and then his followers wrote them down. So there's books of his
I,
teachings as well.
I was not referring to that. I mean, I know the books which are about Ramana Maharshi, and I remember that he spoke. But what I think is philosophical is say what is active and what is not active. It's from
Mm.
it's from
Mm.
it's my
Perspective.
judgment, my perspective, which says this is worldly and this is not worldly.
Mm.
But maybe this is going too far. It's like, I know what you mean. And that's
Mm.
practical to think in that way. So
Yeah, well, Jesus is actually quite practical in some ways. So he's saying, you know, the spirit needs your hands and your eyes and your ears and your feet and your willingness. And he says that a few times in the text. So he's talking on the level of the exterior. If we look at the integral model, Deirdre, I think you mentioned this. So I just use this as a reference. It's useful. This is Ken Wilber's work, integral model. So you've got these four different two axes, four different dimensions: individual and collective, interior, exterior, and then where they intersect forms a four-quadrant diagram. And so what we're talking about here is the external. Okay, so what's your behavior? What's your observed outcomes? Observed behavior, outcomes, words, things things are tangible to us in the world. That's the exterior individual domain. And then you've got the interior individual, which is your thoughts, beliefs, values, intentions, and so on. And the course is really saying, well, we'll go here first and correct your beliefs. That's the miracle. And then that's going to show up in your behavior and the outcomes. So there's an internal aspect of the miracle, which is mind correction. And there's an external aspect, which is that shows up as outcomes, behavior, things that are observable. And so he's addressing us. He's saying, correct your mind, and then allow this to happen. If you're really letting go, then these kinds of miracles start to show up, and that is sort of traditionally what we call teaching. If those kinds of things are happening and people are around you and they're seeing that, then they learn from that. It's more difficult just to learn from someone. If you're in deep meditation all the time, it's more difficult for people to learn from you because they're not hearing anything. The way that most people learn is, okay, well, we've got voice, we've got auditory, we've got visual. So I think he's asking us to participate in this whole at-one-ment process on the level of form, and actually externalize it and speak and act in ways that are guided, and that then becomes the practical way of teaching.
as long as
on this level, like Ramana sitting in meditation for a lot of his life, and there were times in his life when he didn't teach. He just was doing his own thing, and he was in meditation all the time. He was still affecting the quantum field. So on some level, he's still teaching the whole mind that it's one self, because he's in that, and he's sharing that experience with the collective mind on the interior level. But it wasn't externalized at all, because he's just sitting in samadhi in this bliss state, and there's no externalization of that at all. But even he, although he spent a lot of his life in that internal state, he did teach, and so that was obviously part of his mission, part of his calling, that he did teach, and then people formed the external structures around him so that that teaching could happen. So they had an ashram, and that people could come and they could see him, and he was happy for that to happen. He didn't say, no, I just want to be left alone in my cave and meditate. He just went with it because maybe he realized, okay, it is helpful for the whole that I'm available, and that I can actually teach, and I can express my teachings verbally to people.
Yeah, he has no resistance to do it or not to do it.
Yeah, he would have just been like, okay, so they're building an ashram around me. All right, that's fine. Go ahead then. I'll just sit and be, and build the ashram, and that's kind of what happened. I don't think he really did anything. His followers did it. He just sits in he sits as the still presence of love, and everything just happens around it.
Yes.
So that's kind of manifestation, advanced manifestation, if you want to call it that. It's like, okay, everyone else is doing it. It's just happening. He would never have gone, oh, I want to build an ashram, or, we need to raise money, or he just would have gone, well, okay, whatever, that's what needs to happen. And then other people did it who were more, in the world and understood these structures and finances and organizations and how to run it all. And he was just the still formless presence of love at the center of it all. It's almost like the eye of the storm. So everything's whirling around in a hurricane, and then he's just that still center. But that still center, then creates everything. Everything comes around that. And in many ways, Jesus was the same. So although he recruited disciples, that was his doing. But then a lot of this kind of external stuff he left to them. And they did the planning and the organization and the management of the money, and he just was the still presence that was at all, was at the center of it.
Beautiful.
But he was more active. He actually walked in the world and he went places. Romano just kind of sat and it all happened around it. That was his way. Okay, so shall we
have to go
shall
in
we
1
have a look
hour.
at the lesson? Yeah, sorry, Katie?
I said I have to go in 1 hour, and I tried not ask more questions too, because I don't want this session to be extended because I want to don't miss anything.
All right. Okay, no problem. So we'll do it then. So I'm not the victim of the world I see is today's lesson, which is a good one. So would you like to start it? Start it off, Katie. Paragraph 1.
Yeah. Today's idea is the introduction to your declaration of release. Again, the idea should be applied to both the world you see without and the world you see within. In applying the idea, we will use a form of practice which will be used more and more with changes as indicated. Generally speaking, the form includes two aspects, one in which you apply the idea on a more sustained basis, and the other consisting of frequent application of the idea throughout the day.
Okay. So interesting that he's talking about the internal and external here. It's what we've just been talking about. Applied to both the world you see without and the world you see within. So referencing to our little diagram, the world you see without is the exterior domain. The world you see within is interior. And he's saying the idea applies to both of them because actually in truth there's no difference. That's what he's trying to teach us. It's all mind. The external world is in your mind just as much as the internal world is. So these ideas apply to both of them, and he's trying to train us to see that through these exercises. Okay, anything else stand out for you there? Yeah, so it's pretty practical. And he's saying, just in terms of the methodology, he's saying some longer practice periods, so you have a little bit more of an immersion in the idea, and then these shorter practice periods are really helpful just to keep reminding yourself. So you can be, as you were saying, on a street crossing a road, and you can remind yourself of the idea. It only takes a second or two to just bring it to mind in a situation. Oh, I think the car is going to run me over and hurt me. Oh, okay, but hang on, I'm not the victim of the world I see. And so you use the idea to correct. And so throughout the day, reminding yourself over and over, this is mind training. This is reprogramming this default operating system by just dropping these very simple ideas in. And you'll notice, the program is the key idea is always very short. certainly in the first part of the course. They get a bit longer later on, but I'm not the victim of the world I see, because it needs to be simple. It needs to be short, simple, to the point, so we can remember it. So it's designed it like that. If this was a sentence, a long sentence, or 2 sentences, we wouldn't remember, but we can remember a few simple words. Hopefully, not always. I'm the victim. I'm not the victim. I remember listening to Robert Holden. I don't know if you know Robert Holden, Jono and Deirdre, but he's kind of a well-known teacher of the course. And he was at a conference, and he kind of made a joke about it. He said, well, kind of extraordinary, really, because I was doing this lesson, I think it's lesson 109, which is 4 words. I rest in God. I mean, what could be simpler? And he's going, I can't remember it. I rest. And so, making a joke of it. But the ego does that. It doesn't want you to remember. So then you can't remember a few simple words, because it wants you to forget the idea.
And if you remember it, it goes like, I don't understand.
No, you remember the words, but I don't understand. Yeah. Well, no, you're too busy. No, you don't have time for that now. You're busy with the more important things. So it's got all these kind of ways that it doesn't want you to practice. You're too busy to spend a minute practicing the truth. So as you go through this, just be aware of that resistance to actually doing it, because in the doing of it, in the actual practice, and you think these thoughts and you apply these exercises, that's where the training happens. That's where the transformation of your mind is happening, right there. And if you don't do it, of course, then that doesn't happen, which is why the ego resists it, because it doesn't want you to do it.
I notice there's a difference for me between one of the differences I've noticed between the internal and the external. The external is often related to other people and how I relate, how I separate myself out and feel under their influence. And sitting today, it's kind of the internal is more conditions I create myself. So sometimes I feel trapped in certain circumstances, and I find this particularly potent for that. I am creating what I am living out, but my mind has a tendency to feel like, oh, I can't do anything to change this, or I'm stuck in this, I'm trapped. It's got a whole, it's like the ego builds its own traps. And I spin around in that. I spin around in traps, and then it gets tighter. And yeah, it's just, I find it really useful for that. Yeah.
To loosen spring the trap, shall we say?
Yeah, and it tries to convince me I have no choice. But I know there's this tendency to feel like I don't have choice to change my life circumstances, and I'm kind of stuck in certain professional roles, or I'm stuck in what feels safe, or I'm stuck in what feels familiar. And it's, yeah. And there's a victimhood that comes with it. It's like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. But, to go back, let's have a look at this diagram. The ego is its self-concept is the victim.
Yeah.
And it wants you to go all the way down to the bottom of the ladder, as far away from God's love, pure formless awareness as possible, and believe that you really are helpless.
Yeah.
A helpless, enervated little life. So you're weak, you're limited, you're afraid, you're lonely, you're suffering, you're sick, and all of this is just designed to confirm your self-concept.
Yeah.
And the world is set up to confirm that. So we live in the ego's world, and so if you believe the ego's story, then, well, your self-concept will be the victim. Oh, it's not me, it's someone or something else doing it to me. Aren't I just so unfairly treated? Now my grievances are justified. I can project my guilt onto other people. So then I'm off the hook. and God is going to punish them. This is the kind of insane logic of the ego. And he's just asking us to look at it, say, okay, no, I'm not the victim of the world I see. Now, tomorrow's lesson is I'm not the victim of the world I see because I have invented the world I see. So if you invented it, how can you be the victim of it? Obviously, you can't. So this is the projection perception. We project it on one level. We forget we've projected it. We forget all of this stuff, where we came from. And then we perceive that we're victims of an unfair world that's apparently outside of us. But we set the whole thing up to start with. So then are you really the victim if you victimized yourself? Well, obviously not. If you're doing it to yourself, then Jesus is simply saying, well, stop doing it. Stop doing it to yourself, and then you'll stop feeling like you're the victim. But obviously the setup of the ego is it's trying to convince you something or someone else is doing it to you. It's not your fault. It's the world's fault. Anyone else but you. Because if you recognize that it's you, then you can change your mind. And it doesn't, as you said, it's got huge resistance to that. It doesn't want you to change your mind. If you realize you can change your mind, then that's the thin edge of the wedge that's going to undo the entire thought system. Because eventually you'll change your mind about the separation entirely. So that just really wasn't a good idea at all. That's what he's trying to get you to do with this course. It wasn't a good idea at all. I'm done with it. Enough. Game over. And of course, the ego is addicted to the thought of separation. So it's got all these defenses to stop you from doing that. This at-one-man process. Okay. So any other thoughts on this? Then the place we're going into to practice. So we'll skip paragraph 2. I'll guide you through this just now in meditation. Just from a reading perspective, that's just technical detail, instructions on how to actually practice it. So if you can read paragraph 3, Deirdre.
As you survey your inner world, merely let whatever thoughts cross your mind come into your awareness, each to be considered for a moment and then replaced by the next. Try not to establish any kind of hierarchy among them. Watch them come and go as dispassionately as possible. Do not dwell on any one in particular, but try to let the stream move on evenly and calmly without any special investment on your part. As you sit and quietly watch your thoughts, repeat today's thought to yourself as often as you care to, but with no sense of hurry.
Okay, anything notable there strike you?
I guess see yourself on a riverbank and your thoughts, like you're sitting on the riverbank watching the thoughts coming and going, and you're just allowing the river to flow.
So not attaching to any of them. Just they come in, they arise, and then they pass away. It's a nice analogy of the river. The water doesn't stay, it's just it comes and then it flows by. And there's this constant stream, and you can just sit there observing it. You are not the stream, you are the observer that's sitting and just quietly observing it. And then don't establish any kind of hierarchy. So he's trying to get us to see, look, this is all in the same order of thought. If these are thoughts that are disturbing in any way to your peace, they're thoughts about the world, situations, people, places, events, circumstances of the world, then it's all a part of the stream of what arises and passes away. And that which arises and passes away is not true, and it's not real. This is the only distinction between reality and unreality you can really make. The one is permanent and unchangeable, and the other changes all the time, literally moment by moment. Have a thought, arises, okay, then it's gone. So was that real? Really? How can something that arises and passes away so quickly possibly be real? So what's real is the witnessing presence that can observe that. And somebody say, okay, I can observe that arising, passing away. And then when it's gone and there's quietness, then what's that then? So that presence then is the pure formless awareness that we're being directed to. Just is what it is. What else can you say? You can't say, well, God is that, God is this, because it doesn't work that way. It's not subject object dualistic. It doesn't have characteristics like we have characteristics of people and places, and it can be described. It's pure and it's formless, and it's just awareness. That's why we use the term, because it points you directly just to that awareness of something totally beyond time and space. So none of the things in the dream world exist there. Anything that came from separation is not true, so it's temporary, and so all of this is just clouds blowing through your mind. Stream of thought just coming and passing through your mind. What lies beyond them or underneath them, whichever language you want to use, is this awareness that we're being directed to. And saying only that is true. I am that I am. That's the only thing you can say, really. Even, I am love, or I am beauty, or I am power. When we use these as our essence identity. But these are pointers to that which lies beyond words, and that which lies beyond any distinction of any kind at all. So in the Bible, they say the name, when Moses went and he saw this burning bush, it's recorded that he then asked this presence. This presence said, well, go and free the Israelites, free your people from slavery. He was like, okay, so what do I say? Like, who are you? What's your name? And this presence says to him, I am that I am. My name is I am that I am. Interesting. So that's the name of God. And it's actually no name. It's just I am that I am. There's no subject, object, form to it. It's really just I am. Because it's just a presence of beingness that is beyond definition. So that's what we've been pointed to here.
And I think there's something in my ego that goes, golly, if I don't know if it's ego, but there's, well, yeah, I think it is ego.
Probably.
There's a fear that if I rest in the I am that I am, I would just rest and do nothing. And get lost in, because often I do sit in that place, and often it's just very quiet. And it feels like there is no movement.
The only sound of God is silence. There's no form to it. Nothing definite, nothing finite.
Yeah.
You can't define it because it's not finite. You can't go, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
As Lao Tzu said, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao.
Yeah.
Because you can't really name this. I mean, we have names because we're using language, and we have to kind of point to that which has no name with a name, but it can't really be named. It's a still formless presence that just sits there. That always is in your mind. And the ego's fear is that yes, absolutely, not you will get lost. The ego will get lost in the presence.
Yeah, and I guess
the ego.
My ego desperately wants to do something. So there's this crikey, how long am I going to sit? How long am I going to rest in the unknown? How long am I just going to not know what to do? So it's deeply uncomfortable for the ego.
So then you should do more of it. Just sit and be.
Well, I am.
Just sit and be. It's okay. Well, I'm uncomfortable. I feel restless. I want to get up and move. I want to do something. Okay, well, just sit with that. I can highly recommend a 10-day Vipassana retreat then.
Yeah. The
You
only
just
thing
gotta
is,
sit and be.
it doesn't pay the bills. So then the ego kicks in and says, "Oh, I have to earn."
Yes, because that's part of its whole thought system.
Yeah,
But if you really trust,
yeah.
and I've seen this over and over again. In fact, I'll tell you a story of divine providence because it's a kind of nice, kind of a miraculous story related to this. So last year, I've got another business doing corporate finance type stuff. So it's capital raising and this kind of world. And so I had a situation arising where I was due, fairly large chunk of commission for a deal that had happened, and this was the second tranche of it. So been a drawdown on a loan, second tranche, and now the remainder of the money would be paid out. The previous money had been paid out a couple of years previous. And there was a lawyer. It was complicated because the company the corporate finance company that I'd been working with had gone into liquidation because the partners had a split. So it was now in liquidation, and there was some lawyer that it was appointed to like deal with this all. So the first tranche is fine. And we had an agreement which I wrote governing, how the split would be because there were a few parties involved. And he was like, yeah, fine, all paid out, no mention of fees or any deductions. Then we come to the second tranche. And once he's got the money, then he goes, okay, now I'm going to play games. No, actually, the costs of this liquidation, you need to pay them. I'm like, no, it's not for our account. It's the company's account. We don't have to pay your liquidation costs. And that was never in our agreement. So we had a dispute. And he was just playing hardball, saying, well, I've got the money, take it or leave it. I'm giving you an offer, accept my lower offer, net of fees, or you get nothing. And I really wrestled with it. It's one of those kind of classic ego dilemmas. Like, it really, like what he's doing isn't right. It's not fair. It's not the spirit of the agreement we had. So, should I fight this or should I just let it go? And I wrestled with it for a few days, and then suddenly I was actually chopping vegetables at the time because that's how these things happen sometimes. It wasn't in meditation. And suddenly this awareness just came to me like, just accept his offer. Just do it.
Yeah.
And leave the result to me. That was very much this, and it was such a peaceful presence. Just do it, leave it to me, it's going to be fine. And so I did. And it meant I had to give up 140,000 rand, which is somewhere in the order of about 7,000 pounds. So it's not insubstantial. It's me. I'm running my own business. That's a fair chunk. That's I had to just let it go. It's okay. I'm just letting this go, and that then allowed me to go to the Vipassana retreat because then I had some cash flow coming in, and I'm very, very pleased I did because 2 months afterwards the guy died, and all the money went into his estate. He died of COVID, and we would have got nothing. So the spirit was just directing and saying, look, just trust me on this. I know, just go with this. And I could have been stubborn and gone, no, I'll do it my way, and it would have been a disaster. And I felt that resistance, very very strongly. Like the ego didn't want me to let it go and wanted me to fight it. And one of the other guys, the other parties, he didn't accept the offer, and he's got nothing because the guy's died, and now it's in an estate, and good luck with that, trying to get it from his estate. So it does give you the guidance. It said, oh, well, I'll help you get what you can get out of this. And then actually on the Vipassana retreat, there were 2 interactions I had with people that could lead to significant financial income just because I was there and I happened to meet them and had a chat to them and so on. So you got to just trust. You really got to trust that the Holy Spirit really does actually know much better than your ego, and that these practical needs like money and so on can actually be taken care of in a very kind of inspired, miraculous way. Now that doesn't mean you're not doing anything, but it means that you're just doing it with guidance. And then that guidance says, well, it's not helpful that you have no money necessarily. Maybe it is helpful for a while because you need to release some attachment. So that's possible too. Who knows? But that your basic needs are taken care of, however that looks. And then you feel the the like I call it inspired action. So instead of being motivated to work because you need money, you're inspired to work because it's an expression of love, and that's the true motivation. That's what he's trying to cultivate in us. So you're inspired to do it, and then the money kind of flows from that, because if you've doing it in a business context, then you've monetized that, and you monetize the value. And if you're really giving of your heart wholeheartedly, then that's the value everyone wants, really. Actually, what everyone is buying from you is really your presence. They're buying your energy. So if you run your own business, then what they're really buying is how they feel when they have an interaction with you, and how they feel when you do a gardening service, as I understand. So how they feel when you've done their garden or whatever. And so that's the whole package deal. It's not just the service. It's the whole thing they're buying. And so if you have this really enlightened presence, you bring that into their garden, and you're working in their garden for however many hours a day, you bring that presence into the garden, and then whatever you're doing is coming from that presence, and then they will feel it. If they're open to it, they'll feel that. And then there's your, we talked about the other day, there's your killer app. There's a book called Love is the Killer App, which everyone's looking for. Like, what's the magic? What's the secret sauce that's going to give me my kind of unique competitive advantage? That's going to give me an edge in the market. That's what everyone's looking for. And actually, that is love, because that's what actually everyone is looking for. And if you're everything you do is infused with that, then people perceive that, and there's a value in that. It comes through, and then you can monetize that. And it's not that you're driven by the money. It's just that the money is then an expression of the value you've given, and that's how it should be. It's secondary. It's not primary. Primary, give the value, give love. Secondary, okay, well, if you're going to do it as a business and earn a living, monetize it enough so that you can earn a reasonable living, and that's fair enough. And the Holy Spirit's quite in accord with that, because the Holy Spirit can use money, can use all the forms of this world for the purpose of your awakening. So money is no exception. It can be used as a very helpful tool, provided you're willing to give it to the Holy Spirit, and not hold on to your own ideas of money and the scarcity, because it's such a symbol of lack for most people, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it triggers all of those beliefs of the ego, and scarcity and lack and loss and sacrifice and so on. And that we need to overcome that and say, no, actually there is no sacrifice, there is no loss, and money will flow freely. Like, if I need it, then it's there. I'm not attached to it. I don't need more of it than I need. There's no like, I need to be a multi-millionaire, because that's just more ego. Oh, well, okay, so something other than God's going to make you safe then. Your money's going to make you safe. That's sort of what you're saying there. But it's a trusting, saying, well, yeah, this money stuff's pretty useful in the world if I'm operating in the world. So, yeah, if I need it, then it will be there. And I'll be guided as to, how to earn it, or how it should come to me. It doesn't even necessarily need to come through what you call hard work. There's many ways. I mean, Lucy, that story that she told of the, she gets this Course in Miracles given to her, and then there's 150 pounds in the back of it, just given to her, because she's now on this path, and she's just signed up to this course, and so, okay, the money's helpful because it helps her to do this. So then the Holy Spirit provides it in that way, see. So it can work very miraculously if you open up to that, and you get out of the program of, oh, no, I've got to do something, I've got to work hard to make money, because it is such a, I mean, that's the work ethic, isn't it? What do they call it? The WASP work ethic, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant work ethic. Well, you got to work hard. Like, nothing comes up for free, and it doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard, my boy, my girl. We were all told that when we were young, weren't we?
Yeah.
Part of the programming. You got to work. No, it doesn't just happen. Money doesn't grow on trees. Don't expect miracles. It's only going to come through your efforts. And that's just not true. It really isn't.
Yeah.
So you got again, that's another unwinding of that belief system that's deeply entrenched around money. And you know, we all have it. So it's such a societal program. Because how many parents say, no, it's fine, don't worry about money, it'll be there when you need it, it's all going to be fine, just follow your heart, my boy or my girl, just follow your heart, and life will follow you, you know, the money will flow. What parents tell you that? They don't tell you that. They tell you, like, no, you need to be very scared, you know, the world's a fearful place, you got to make sure that you work hard, you get the right qualifications, so that you can get a good job, because you know there's just not enough. There's not enough jobs, there's not enough money. I mean, it's very scarce. I mean, certainly my parents were like that. And I think, you know, that's probably the general program. There's not that many parents say, no, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. You know, just go with your heart, go with your flow, and you know, life will support you, and your needs will be met, and you'll be guided, and you know, you really don't have to fear. I mean, it would be amazing if we had those kinds of messages. But mostly we haven't. We've grown up in the ego's thought system. But now you have a choice. You can choose to let it go. You don't have to continue believing that. And these exercises are how you do that. You know, I'm not the victim of the world I see. Okay, so I'm not, you know, take that into the money domain. I'm not threatened by this. I'm not threatened by not having enough. Like this world that doesn't seem to give me enough is not actually true. That not enough is in my mind. So if you look at the scale of consciousness, this is David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, you can read more about this in Power versus Force. You see that, you know, on these lower levels, fear and desire. I mean, these emotions are what govern most people's thoughts and actions. They run the world economy pretty much, fear and desire. Right? I want something, so therefore I'll work for it, and I'll make money so I can buy what I want. That's a huge program. And fear is like, oh, you know, I need to make money so that I'm safe, so I've got enough, so I can like make sure I'm safe, because money makes me safe. And I'll use money to protect myself. So, you know, all kinds of services like insurance and security and so on. And these are the motivations that drive us. And these are egoic. Below level 200 is egoic. So that's what's driving the world economy on a daily basis. People are buying stuff all the time based on these motivations. And so it's to lift ourselves out of that and say, you know what, I'm not motivated by desire or fear anymore. I come from a place of acceptance, willingness, acceptance, reason, maybe even love. But you know, anything in these higher orders, you know, are not motivated by the lower order concerns. So as a you know, successful entrepreneur, you really need to be at willingness or above. Okay, so I'm really willing. I'm willing to do what I feel called to do. I'm willing to allow the Holy Spirit to use me and to channel through me and use my hands and my eyes and my ears and my feet in this form of, say, the business that I'm doing. And I'm trusting. You notice that trust underlies willingness. I'm trusting the process, that this is going to be fun, and it's actually going to work out, and that you know, I'll be guided, my needs will be met. And so, you know, I'd say entrepreneurship is very much part of the spiritual growth. It's a spiritual path, if you choose to see it that way, because you need to cultivate these qualities of affirmation, empowerment. You're just not going to do it if you don't have courage, if you don't have the ability to trust, to let go of some of those old programs, the beliefs that sabotage you, then to show up every day as willing. Okay, yes, I'm willing. And I'm willing to confront seeming obstacles. I'm willing to overcome my fears. I'm willing to push into places I'm not comfortable with, you know, outside of my comfort zone. That's spiritual. It's spiritual path, spiritual practice. And then you do it through your business, which is then how your purpose comes into it. So it's all bound up with this path of awakening. And then, you know, you do these things to help you to undo the ego's program and to move up the scale into ultimately the ineffable bliss, at which point you probably will not be running a business. Because we're like, there's no need, you've transcended that. But then maybe, you know, your path was, okay, well, I needed to do that to get there. So, you know, it's all perfect. And that will come in time. Right now, you might be at a level of, I need to be more willing. You know, I need to, like, because it's all really, really good and well saying I trust. No, I trust the, you know, I trust spirit. It's all. Do you really? Or is that lip service? You know, do you really trust? Are you really willing to step out and say, okay, well, you know, I'll act on this. So I'll run my business this way. And I'm really going to trust that the spirit can do it much better than me. That's another level of, you know, trust in action. And remember this, affirmation is the most powerful form of action. So when you actually, action is the most powerful form of affirmation. So when you actually act on it, then you're saying, yes, I believe it. And you act on it again, I believe it again. And you know, and so your belief in this power becomes stronger and stronger as you act on it, and then you see the miracles. And you relate it to this quadrant and the idea of miracles. So you continuously acting in ways that confirm your belief, and then you get observed behaviors and outcomes that confirm that. That feeds back into your intention. That strengthens your belief. And so that can be used either positively or negatively. The ego uses it negatively, but the spirit can use this very positively to take you on this upward curve through these levels to ultimately to enlightenment. And your purpose in this world in form, your business, whatever, to earn a living actually should be very much part of that. If you really want to lead an integral life, then you should integrate it all. Say, yeah, this is my spiritual practice. My business is part of my spiritual practice because I'm extending love through this, and this is how I learn my lessons. I overcome all this resistance and all the lack of trust and the scarcity, and you know, and I speak from personal experience here. This business of that I'm doing, the art of letting go, has been profound for me. It's been a profound spiritual journey of like undoing some key core beliefs around money and scarcity and how this should be done and all of that. It's like an unwinding that needs to happen. And if I hadn't done the process, then that wouldn't have happened. So it's all, you know, it's all happening for me, really. Yes, I'm adding value to other people, but actually, primarily, Spirit's saying, no, this is your path. That this is your own awakening here, and you need to do it for you. Which then leads you into self-worth. You know, you've then got to say, yeah, I'm worth it. I'm worth doing this. I'm worth being saved. My mind is worth this. So I show up in that worthiness, and then I give that worthiness to others. And there's the value that gets created. And then the love is flowing through you. And in my case, it's direct because I'm actually teaching this stuff directly. In your case, well, maybe it's gardening, so it's not as direct, but then you teach it through your actions and then the presence that you bring into the garden. And then people get that, you know, via the garden that they then are able to enjoy and, you know, experience some of that presence that you bring into it. And maybe there are other ways you can do it. Who knows? You know, I don't know. And that gets quite interesting because then there's a creative flow. Okay, well, show me. If you really ask the question, say, okay, so Spirit, show me what I should do with this gardening business, and then be open to the answer. You know, it'll give you some answers that will take the business to another level. So this is actually, as we said, it's business development in a way, although it's not directly, but indirectly, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you run your own business. It's absolutely critical what you feel and what you believe, because that energy goes into the business every day. I was listening to Wayne Dyer yesterday. He says, you know, it's not about The Secret, all of that kind of law of attraction stuff. He said he wasn't part of it. He was asked to be part of that movie, if you remember The Secret, 15 years ago, whenever it was released. And he said he didn't do it because it's not what you want. You attract not what you want, but you attract what you are. And that's a much deeper level of, you know, that law of attraction. You attract what you are. Okay, so what do I really believe about myself? Not what I want. Oh, I want, you know, The Secret is very much, oh, what you want. Okay, you want a relationship, you want money, you want, you know, all this external stuff. So still very much focused on the exterior. But the internal, like, who am I? Let me find out who I am. let me be rooted in that presence of who I am, and then let that guide my thoughts and my words and my actions, and then I attract what I am. And that's miraculous manifestation. Not even really manifestation as we could, because there's no conscious, oh, I want to manifest this. It just happens through you. And that's what Jesus is trying to train us to do.
Yeah.
With all these lessons.
And I guess
yeah.
deep down, I feel this like a strong sense to take people outdoors and to listen. And I kind of think that's never going to make money.
Yeah, but who puts the limits on it?
Me.
Exactly.
And it's it's a sense I've had for 10 years that I'm to do something with people on the land, and increasingly it feels like learning to listen to self, learning to listen to the whole. I've no idea quite how that's going to happen, but my own personal sense is I need to go on that journey myself. And the only way I can do it is if I actually stop working and do it. And then there's all this, oh golly, I need to pay off my mortgage. The ego's going, the financial collapse coming. I need to pay off my mortgage. How can I make myself secure?
Yeah, all these. So there you've got the two thought systems.
Yeah, I've got the two thought systems
conflicting, and it's like, okay, so which one are you going to listen to?
Yeah,
and you're saying you got to choose. Yes, the ego in the world seems to be persuasive. Oh no, but you need to be practical. Mortgage, blah blah blah. But this is all external stuff.
Yeah.
So now it's outside in. Okay. So now my mortgage stops me from doing what I really feel called to do.
Yeah.
Is that really true? No, not really.
No.
Be honest with yourself.
It's me stopping myself.
It's your belief in it. Your belief in the obstacle is what makes it into an obstacle.
Yeah.
The ego presents it, and you go, "What about mortgage?" And then you're going, "Oh no, okay, well I can't do that." Well, you just limited this infinite power tremendously. It's just become hugely finite. Oh no, the Holy Spirit can't deal with a mortgage. Really? Are you sure about that? Byron, I don't know if you're familiar with Byron Katie's work.
Yeah.
Byron Katie. So first two questions in the this 4-question process of the work. First two questions: do you know this is true? Second question: can you absolutely know that it's true? Say it, just to double check it. No, you can't absolutely know that it's true. I can't do this because I can't pay my mortgage. Like, really? Is that really true, or is that just a false belief? I'm just making that up.
Belief. It's a false belief.
Just a belief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then just you go through that questioning. Okay, well, it's not really true. So why am I continuing to believe in it if it's not true? Why don't I just open myself to something else? If I really follow my heart's calling, you say this has been knocking at your door for 10 years, and you kind of ignored it mostly, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I've wanted to stay safe. I've wanted to, gardening's dead easy for me. It's very familiar. I know it at the back of my hand, but increasingly my body's going, don't want to do it. I noticed, like today, I haven't gone to work. The motivation, well, I think my spirit is guiding me. Unfortunately, I kind of trust my body. I trust what's arising. There is I think there's a very large part of me knows that my mind's picking up a lot of bullshit, and it's getting so strong I can't ignore it anymore. And my heart really longs to be aligned to do it. Yeah, real.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the calling to go to Findhorn.
I think it probably is. Yeah, it is.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe that's the next step. Maybe that's not where you end up. Who knows?
Yeah.
But part of this journey is to surrender. It's okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I can't plan this because, like, my plan hasn't worked. Clearly, it hasn't made me happy, fulfilled.
Yeah.
My plan's kept me in this little prison of the finite self.
Yeah.
So I need to be willing to just allow the spirit to direct. Okay, well, go to Findhorn, all right? If it really feels right, you go, you show up, and maybe something happens from there. Who knows? You meet someone, maybe you stay there for a while, who knows? But you just go, all right, well, show me then. And it will, because once you go in that flow, this is the hero's journey that I talked about. Once you start this, so classic, I mean, these archetypes, they're archetypes for a reason, because they're very applicable. You look at this hero's journey. This is based on Joseph Campbell's work. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I am familiar with it.
So it's the call. You're feeling the call to adventure, aren't you? Okay, so go on an adventure, Deirdre.
Well, 4 years ago, I did a vision board, and it had have an adventure at the top. It had a woman sitting on these great big rocks, which is, just the rocks in the Findhorn River. It had a woman by the sea. I mean, it's the Findhorn landscape. And it at the top, it's got have an adventure. And it was 4 years ago before I ever bought a house down here in the Borders, and I had lots of people trying to get me up to Findhorn. At that point, I wasn't open to it. So, yeah.
So it was a call. Okay, maybe you refused it, and then now it's there again. John's just gone.
Yeah, and it's interesting. My parents were really adverse to Findhorn, completely and utterly adverse to it.
Okay, but this is the parents who the traditional evangelical religious fire it. Well, of course they're going to be utterly adverse to it. Well, Findhorn represents the devil to them, probably.
Yeah.
Well, our daughter's going to go be corrupted by all these these devil worshippers, pagans, whatever in Findhorn. I can just imagine what they thought of it. But is that true, or is that just another interesting? The threshold guardians that I hear. Because you wanted to go, and it's like, no, you can't go. Parents, all the obstacles, and so you stayed in the known, in the known world. But there's a call to go. No, I want to break out of that. I want to break free. And that's the call that every hero has. And then the heroes in this world are simply the ones who listen. So okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it doesn't matter what the obstacles are. I'm going to go through those, and I'm going to trust that I'll get the guidance. Helpers, mentors, guidance will come, and it's not always going to be smooth sailing. There will be challenges, there'll be temptations, all of this, but I'm trusting that this guidance is with me always, and I'll be guided through whatever I need to go through, to the point of the abyss, which is the death and the rebirth. So the death of the old self and the rebirth into a new self, which is kind of the whole point of the journey. That's what it's all about. But you need to go on a journey out of the known into the unknown to do this. Otherwise, it doesn't happen in the known, because your ego is in charge of the known. The ego says, "Oh no, you're safe here. Stay safe. Don't go out of it." And usually in our world, money is the obstacle, isn't it?
Yeah.
You go into the unknown. It's like, okay, well, how am I gonna live? How am I gonna support myself? All of this kind of stuff, and yet somehow you are. I've never had a job, never, my entire life. So, and yet I'm okay. It's just I found a way. So you do. It just unfolds, and I mean, it certainly hasn't always been smooth, and I've had like lots of twists and turns and challenges and whatever. But if I look back, I'd go, well, I'm so glad I didn't stay in the known world. Of just okay, go into the corporate world, get a job. I could have played that game. I did a university degree. I had bursaries. I could have gone, okay, I'll just play that game and play the system and go into the corporate world, earn a good salary, but it would have been empty. I just didn't feel called to it. And so I took a step quite early in my life, and I went, okay, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to follow the known path. And then that took me on the hero's journey into this unknown, like, whoa, okay, where am I? And it's all, it's this fear you've got to overcome. But you do learn, and like just tremendous learning and growth that you just don't have if you stay in the known world. So, and now there's no accident that Lucy then spoke to you and said, hey, Deirdre, I've been doing this program, check it out. And now you're here. There's no accident in any of it.
Oh, I know.
It's all part of the divine design for your life. And then the only question is, okay, are you willing? You know, are you going to step up
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
What a I don't know if you were here the other day with Winston Churchill's quote, but I'll share it with you. I think it might have been
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I was.
Were you? Yeah, finest hour. You know, okay, so this is your finest hour, Deirdre. So are you ready for it? You know, to every man, to every person, shall we say, to every person, there comes that special moment when he's figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to him or her, fitted to his or her talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds him or her unprepared or unqualified for that which would be his or her finest hour. And so what he's talking about really is the hero's journey, isn't he? Saying that the tap on the shoulder is the call to adventure. Okay, this is your finest hour. This is where you can really start the transformation. And are you willing? Are you willing to step up or not? And I think you are. I mean, you know you are. You've just got to have a little bit of courage and say, okay, yes, all right, I'm willing, and I'm not going to let these threshold guardians stop me. I'm going to trust, and I'm going to break through this. And once you're on the journey, then the Spirit guides you.
Yeah.
You know, this is not comfortable.
No, it's really not
comfortable. Don't expect it all to be roses. It's not. But you are going in the right direction. And the ego is going, oh, this is death. I'm going to my death. No, whatever. Don't do it. Don't go there. Because, of course, it's the death of the ego. That's what's dying. It doesn't want to die. So it's going to resist this process. And those are the challenges. You know, the resistance shows up. Your own resistance shows up as the challenges and the temptations, which seem to be externalized often. Oh, you know, you don't have enough money. How are you going to live? External seeming. Parents, oh no, don't go to Finhorn. You know, that's the devil's work. You know, we won't speak to you if you go there. Again, it's an external manifestation of the internal resistance that your ego has to the whole process of transformation. But there's another force that's more powerful. It's saying, Deirdre, you've got to do it. It's time. This is your time. You know, you need to step up. You need to go into this because you will never ever be happy here.
I know. I've noticed. I went up before Christmas, and each time I go, I feel like I step into a real flow state. And
in Finthorn.
In Finthorn, and I feel very
Oh.
feel very at peace. And then I come back and back into town.
Puts you back into your known world, and then the ego comes in again. And so, you know, that helps you to facilitate this. Remember, the hero's journey is internal, but often on the level of form, the hero's got to do something, go somewhere different, do something different, because that's how it plays out on the level of form. And that experience is helpful for them. So let me just share this quickly, and then we'll go into a meditation. Because I'm aware. Katie, how much time have you still got?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. So maybe let's do a meditation first, and then I'll go into this. So there's a section of the Manual for Teachers, which I think it would be worth looking at for you, Deirdre, which is called The Development of Trust. And he talks about this period of undoing. That you want to, you're going to undo various things, and often it seems like you're losing things on a worldly level.
Yeah.
And actually, all that's happening is their lack of value is merely being recognized.
Yeah.
So if it's actually not serving you anymore, if it's part of the ego, it's keeping you in prison, you're not happy, then why are you scared to lose it? Why are you scared to let it go? So there's this period of undoing that often needs to start. So that might mean, okay, well, I'm going to undo my current life, go to Findhorn, because it's an undoing. And so there needs to be a dropping away of the old. But we can go into this after the meditation a bit more if you like. Yeah. Okay, so let's do the med then. So I'll just keep it to 10 minutes, Katie, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, I drop off when I need to drop off.
Yeah. Not drop off soon, not drop off. Not drop off in terms of sleeping, we hope.
Oh,
So
oh.
got a double meaning, drop off.
That's
Yeah.
a different thing.
Yeah. Drop into the unconsciousness of the ego. Okay, so I'll keep it to about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so just sitting comfortably. Feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And just start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing the stomach rising and the chest rising. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscles, the lock it's a muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Lock the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up into your heart center. Put one hand in your heart, connecting with your heart space. Breathing into your heart. Feel that presence of love. There's a stillness. And in that presence, in that stillness, just scan your mind. So you're going to just notice any thoughts going on, your inner world, as Jesus terms it. And you just observe these thoughts crossing your mind. Let them come into awareness. Consider them for a moment. And say today's idea to yourself: I am not the victim of the world I see. So whatever your thought is showing to you, you're not the victim of it. And then move on to the next thought. Consider that for a moment. Remind yourself, I'm not the victim of the world I see, so I'm not the victim of the situation, person, event, circumstance, whatever it is that's crossing your mind. And then exhale and just release. Let it all go to the nothingness that it really is. Just let these clouds just drop away, blow them away with the breeze of your breath, or Deirdre used the analogy of the river, just observing the river. It's another nice one. You can just imagine you sitting on the riverbank, quite calm and still and happy, and you just observe that these thoughts flow past. They come and they go. They rise, they pass away. They go down the stream of your thinking, and they're no longer there. They're no longer right in front of you. And then something else comes, so breathe in again. Noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises, clenching the sphincter muscle, locking the energy in. Drawing it up into the crown of your head. Maximal inhale breath. Pause at the top of the inhale. And just observe whatever thoughts and emotions are going on in your mind. And apply today's idea to them. Don't dwell on anything in particular, but just, as he says here, let the stream move on, evenly and calmly. So imagine it's just a stream of thoughts, and they just flow through. They come and they pass and they go. And you have no special investment in any of it. You just observe. You're the pure witness of these thoughts. And just repeat today's idea to yourself every so often. No sense of hurry. It's just very relaxed, very calming. So, I'm not the victim of the world I see. And then exhale. And have a sense of just releasing any attachment you have to any thought. Breath is a great way of releasing energy. So just feel like you're dropping the energy of attachment, of investment in the world. And just drop it away into nothingness that it is. And maybe you sense some quietness, just stillness, pure formless awareness arising in your mind. Beyond the thoughts, beyond the stream of thought that so preoccupies our minds, lies this still calm presence, the silent witnessing presence that we can call God. or love or pure formless awareness. And so be willing to enter into that, to just go there, go into the stillness and the silence. Blaise Pascal once said, all man's problems come down to his inability just to sit quietly in a room by himself. So that's what you're doing now, just sit quietly by yourself and allow this presence to be there for a minute or two of deep silence. There's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Just allow this presence to arise in your mind and to be everything. There's no need to think. Just be what you truly are, beyond the idea of being a victim of the world, any kind of individual self, any worldly thoughts. Lies the I am presence, the I am that I am, the name of God that's in your mind. So let that arise right now for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. If any thoughts arise, just observe them casually. They're just drifting by. Stream of thought, just allow it to flow through your mind without any attachment or investment. Remind yourself that I'm not the victim of the world I see. Let it go and return your mind into this still, calm presence of love for another minute or so of deep silence. And so gently coming back into an awareness of the body, the breath, the senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. Okay, and scan your mind. Notice any thoughts running through it. In a detached, dispassionate way, remind yourself, I am not the victim of the world I see. I'm not the victim of this thought. Or if you're thinking about a person or a place or a circumstance or an event, just remind yourself, I'm not the victim of the world I see. When you exhale, just drop all that victimhood, the victim identity, releasing that energy, which is very contracted, restrictive energy. So you feel a sense of freedom, lightness. Just to experience that presence in the still silence, the calm between breaths for a few moments. Notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. On the count of 2, breathing in, noticing any smell in your nose. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing, but without any judgment, so no interpretation. You just allow these sounds, sensations of the body to arise and pass away the same way as the thoughts do. These are not permanent or eternal, they are temporary. So they come and they go, they shift and they change, which means that they are not real. They are unreal because they have no permanent reality. So you can observe that very clearly. So just blow them away with the breeze of your breath. Remind yourself one more time, I'm not the victim of the world I see. On the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around and just apply today's idea to whatever you see. Look slowly about you, just letting your eyes scan the room, observing whatever's around you. Close your eyes and apply the idea to the inner world. So open your eyes, I'm not the victim of the world I see. Repeat that a couple of times as you just randomly scan the room. So whatever you're seeing, you're not the victim of. Close your eyes and notice any thoughts. Apply the same idea to whatever you're thinking about. I'm not the victim of the world I see. As Jesus says, you will escape from both together, the inner world and the outer world. So the outer world is a mirror of the inner world. If we are imprisoned in our beliefs in the inner world, then we imprison ourselves in the outer world. The inner is the cause of the outer. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the mind training. So I wanted to just, have you still got a bit more time, Deirdre, or you've got to go?
No, I've got a bit more time.
Okay, so if you look at the development of trust, there's 6 stages in this development of trust, which are really stages of spiritual growth on this path, this hero's journey, which he outlines. So we won't go through the whole thing, but maybe just read paragraph 1, because it'll give you an idea of what's what's coming or what's happening right now for you.
First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be the external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage.
Does that resonate?
That does. I mean, the last few years, I feel like I've lost many things I think I needed, like my family. I've been kind of kicked out, and lost connection to many groups that I valued. And I'm discovering I haven't quite fully embraced it, but yeah, I don't need those things to survive.
Or to be happy.
Yeah, to be happy. Yeah.
What it's really about.
Yeah.
Because if things are being taken away, and initially, we don't understand because we're still rooted in our egos, that really it's just their lack of value that's being recognized. You have the opportunity to see, look, these actually don't really serve me. When you see that it's all helpful, which I think you probably are at, then maybe you're ready for the next stage. Okay, all these changes are actually helpful. Even though it seems to be a loss, it's not really.
Yeah.
Now it's period of sorting out. This might resonate. Do you want to read paragraph 2?
Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most of the things he valued before, will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. Yeah, that resonates. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded to them in this world of illusion. I'm going to just read that again. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded to them in this world of illusion. I'm not sure I'm getting that.
Okay. What's not clicking for you?
It's just not. I'm losing. Something's losing cognition of it.
Interesting. Ego doesn't want you to see it. So it's only to the extent to which they are helpful. Okay, so these changes only to the extent to which they're really helpful, and helpful is not the ego's version of helpful. Helpful is what's going to help you to free your mind from the world, to awaken to who you really are.
Yeah.
So they only have any degree of reality should be accorded to them in this world of illusion. So the only reality they have is that they actually helpful in this journey.
Yeah.
Undertaking. They're taking you, if you go look at the hero's journey, these things are helpful in that they're taking you into this place of transformation.
Yeah.
Where you're going to die to the ego. So undoing of the ego and the rebirth into the true self. That's what's truly helpful. So they have no absolute value or reality at all in the external world. You know, we value these things. We value nothing. We give it a reality that it really doesn't have. These observed behaviors, performance outcomes, systems, all the stuff that we've invented as human beings, we give all the value for itself. And he's saying none of this has value in itself. It's all an illusion. The only thing that gives it any value is it helpful in your awakening? Is it actually pointing you back into your mind, to this individual interior domain where you can awaken to your true self? And that's the only degree of reality that should be accorded it. So it's useful for the purpose of awakening, but it has no other value. In which case there's no attachment to it. You're like, okay, well, that was useful on my journey for my awakening, but that's all. I'm not holding on to any of it. It was an experience. It's come, it's gone. And he says it takes great learning. The reason why you're not quite getting it is because he's saying it takes great learning. This is what you've got to learn. To understand, really understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. Even the things that seem to hurt you the most. Yeah. Okay, so let's take your, being kicked out of your family. I mean, that's quite, I imagine it's quite painful. It's like I'm being rejected. I'm not being valued. I feel alone. I feel abandoned. These kinds of things come up, don't they?
It's been a real gift.
Yeah, but actually, it's been very helpful.
It's a real gift, real permission.
Yeah. So you're starting to see that, and that's then the progression on the spiritual journey. All things. Great learning to learn that all things. Okay, so the worst thing in your life, the worst trauma, death, disease, sickness, pain, suffering, betrayal, rejection, all the stuff that the ego conjures up, is actually all helpful. It takes great learning to understand that, because our minds are attached to the ego script, which says, no, the known world is what you want to protect and defend. And it seems to be undoing this known world that is your safety and security. And so it seems to be a bad thing. It seems to be, this isn't helping me. But actually it is helping you. It's all helping you to go on this journey. And then both of these stages end with the realization that it's helpful. Right? These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage. The second stage is, okay, so it's like another learning, another level here. Great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. And that's what he's asking you to learn.
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Okay, so has number 6 just landed for you?
Yeah, it has landed.
The eagle has landed.
Yeah, it has landed.
The word value can apply to nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that's truly valuable. You know, what is taking you home? That's what's valuable. What's facilitating this journey home to your true self, to your awakening, into happiness, peace, love, joy that are eternal. That's what's valuable. Nothing else really means anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
There's the acceptance of that. And then, you know, the acceptance often comes in action. Because he says, you know, the shift can often not happen entirely internally. Paragraph 1. So then the plan, this is your hero's journey, will sometimes call for changes in what seems to be external circumstances. So if that call shows up as, okay, well, an intention to move to Findhorn, you know, go to Findhorn, for instance. I'm not saying that it is or it isn't. You've got to determine that. But that's how the call for changes can show up. Oh, okay, we'll go change your location, go move somewhere else. Because that's a change in the external circumstances that may be very helpful in the undoing.
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago, it felt like I came down. Well, I took myself right out of my comfort zone, quite consciously and deliberately. And so, like, I feel like I've been through some kind of, well, literally a rite of passage, actually. And it feels like
time for the next cycle of the hero's journey, because you can cycle through this a number of times in your life.
Yeah.
You go out of the known, then you go into the unknown, you make a journey, you go back, but then, you know, you get familiar again. And it's like, okay, well, there's still this known ego world. And then interesting, I don't know if you watched the latest Matrix movie, Matrix 4, the Resurrections movie.
No, I haven't actually. No.
It's worth watching because there's some very, you know, interesting spiritual themes in there. But in it, you know, Neo's gone back to sleep, basically. So he was the awakened one. He's gone through this whole, like, and he's the avatar and blah, blah, blah. And now, you know, because if you remember the last, I don't know if you watched them, but he ended up going back to the Matrix to save everyone. So he goes back into the machine world and they plug him back into the Matrix. So he's now back in it. He's plugged back into the system and he goes back to sleep pretty much. Like there's still some awareness. He hasn't totally forgotten, but he goes back to sleep. So he's gone out of the known world. He's done this awakening. Then, oh, okay, but hang on, the ego comes back and he's now trapped in the known world again. Okay. So now he's got to do another hero's journey, another cycle of it to awaken again. And so, you know, we can go through this a number of times in our life. And each time there's a call to adventure to say, okay, you need to do something different. You need to change something in the dream. And so he's in this dream and he's running a software company now. You know, he's designed this game called The Matrix. And a part of him is like, okay, but this isn't quite right. You know, I'm not, and I'm having these dreams and I'm like, you know, he's not sure what's reality and what's a dream. And they've got him drugged. So they give him these pills to keep him, which is really symbolic of, you know, what the pharmaceutical industry does to people. You know, just keep you suppressed, keep you in the dream state, in the blue pill, you know, just the known world. And he has to, again, awaken and go beyond the threshold. Say, okay, I'm willing to do this again, even though I've done it before. You know, I've got to do this again. So maybe you're in the similar cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to the Scottish borders. There was an undoing of everything. Okay, well maybe now it's another cycle of it.
Yeah.
To facilitate really what is your awakening. That's what it's for.
Yeah, well, I kind of repeatedly find I go to the edge of the abyss and I find it's not an abyss.
Yeah, you plunge in there and you're like, okay, it's a bit scary, but actually you survive. And you come
Yeah,
out and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not dead.
I thrive.
Yeah, I'm actually very much alive, and I feel more alive than before. And
Yeah,
so you've done it before. So it's like, okay, we'll do another cycle. What are you scared of?
yeah, yeah,
And there's no accident that we're sitting here talking one-on-one about the hero's journey. That doesn't happen by accident.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all part of the divine design for your life.
yeah. Can I read number 3?
Yeah, of course you can. I've got a call in 15 minutes with
That's fine.
Elaine, but we can read until then.
Yeah.
So there we go. Third stage.
Third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely.
But change, just read those again, and instead of God, say love, and see how that changes it for you.
The third stage through which the teacher of love must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it would engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of love escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of love feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interests on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. Yeah, that resonates.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's that stage actually that I'm at.
Hmm. Period of relinquishment.
Yeah, I'm being called to give up my home.
Hmm. Will engender enormous conflict. So you're experiencing some of that conflict.
Yeah, it's a lot of conflict, real big conflict.
Hmm.
And to give up this sense of like, I guess I've lost my family, but I don't also want to lose connection with friends I really value.
Hmm.
So yeah, and there's a huge fear that will I survive if I let go of proximity. Yeah.
But you know the answer, of course you will. and then there's new friends around the corner. Who knows who you'll meet on the journey. So you leave the known world. Look what comes in: helpers, mentors, guides to help you. You're not going to be alone, but you didn't know they even existed before you started the adventure.
Yeah.
You just trusted that these would come along. So, and it's happened. Lucy refers you here. Now you're talking to me. So it's all part of the process.
And I was calling it in very strongly the day before I spoke to Lucy, really strongly.
Really? So you said, okay, so I'm ready. I want to shift now.
Yeah, really strongly.
And then the next day it's like, boom, okay, there we go. She calls you up and it just isn't amazing how that happens. It's just quite incredible.
It is.
Miraculous. And you go, well, how can I doubt this? There are these miracles show up over and over, and yet I still doubt.
I know. And I've literally got someone in my house who would be who's looking to buy a place.
Right. So they could buy it off you.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or you rent it out or whatever, the Holy Spirit will arrange
Yeah.
That's the thing. It can deal with all these little details. It'll just give you the guidance. Okay, yeah, sell it, rent it, whatever. Whatever's necessary for your journey. That's what it will help you with. In miraculous ways. That just, okay, well, maybe, yeah, they do just buy it. Okay, well, there, you got shots of your house, now you're free, you've got some capital. Okay, off you go then. Go to Findhorn and go on an adventure and see where it takes you. And you've got to obviously be it's your journey, so it's got to resonate with you. No one can tell you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you to go to Findhorn or not, but you're just giving me that and says, okay, we'll really consider that. And if it's just a block that the ego is putting in place, then see it for what it is and let it go.
Yeah.
The ego is always a masquerader. I mean, the challenge for any hero is like, well, what's spirit and what's ego? How do I know here? That's why it's challenging and it's tempting, because like, it's something coming in and it's telling me to do this. Is that true? Is it not true? Is that actually true guidance, or is it the ego trying to sabotage me? And the journey is part of this discernment. Like, okay, I'm starting to learn what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
I'm sorting out the false from the true, which actually leads us very nicely into this, a period of sorting out.
Yeah.
Say that? Yeah. Third stage, period of sorting out.
Yeah.
So sorting out the true from the false, the valuable from the valueless.
Yeah.
And that sounds like where you're at.
Yeah, and I've really been going through that for the last couple of years, year and a half. In all kinds of.
Because these are stages. This can last months or even years of your life to actually work through this.
Yeah.
So I think read number 4, because it gives you some hope. The first 3 are all a bit turbulent. Letting go, undoing, relinquishing, losing things, and now it gives you some respite. It's just, okay, well,
now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of love rests a while in reasonable peace.
I love it. Reasonable peace. So it's not going to be total, but just reasonable peace.
Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of love is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious, and how easy to do. The teacher of love meets this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks. Yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone.
So, that's the next stage, a period of quietness, mighty companions. He's giving you a little glimpse into the hero's journey.
Whereabouts in the Course of Miracles is this coming from?
The manual for teachers.
Yeah. So it's a manual for teachers. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Manual for teachers. This is section 4.
Section 4. Yeah, I don't have it yet.
Yes, which you may not have ever read, but it's some good stuff.
The
manual for teachers. So he goes into these kinds of things that are quite practical. It's asking. It's a Q&A format, so it's questions. What are the characteristics of God's teachers?
Yeah.
And he answers this question at length, because he's got trust, and then he says, okay, so what are the phases in the development of trust?
Yeah.
Which is an inkling into what the spiritual journey is, because actually what this hero's journey is all about trusting, really. Trusting a power greater than you, trusting your true self rather than the healer.
Yeah.
So this is his version of the hero's journey, really.
Yeah.
Which is, it's an archetype in every. That's why Joseph Campbell formulated. He looked at every tradition, every culture, every religion, every spiritual tradition, and it's in there. It's in all of them because it's the archetype of what we do in our lives. If we're going on a awakening to who we really are, there's this hero's journey going on, and these stages are common. Just like he said here, he's getting a bit more specific. These are the stages in your awakening, development of trust. So your next stage is period of settling down. Well, that's nice, isn't it? That's quite a period of reasonable peace.
Then there's a period of onset, like.
Oh yeah, no. Well, then it carries on. Yeah, it's another period of unsettling because you realize you actually haven't come as far as you thought you did.
Yeah.
So okay, I thought I had it all handled. The ego was no, actually, maybe it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then there's another, but it's a journey. So just wherever you're on the journey, all right. Well, maybe this is the period of relinquishment. Okay, well maybe I've got to let go then. I've got to just relinquish all the stuff that's not actually valuable. Go through that process of transformation, and then a period of settling down. So maybe that means you settle down in a new place. Fundhorn, maybe somewhere else. I don't know. But this is your journey, and the adventure of it is only you can live the journey. This journey is unique to you. It's Deirdre's journey back to spirit, back to source. No one else can walk that journey for you.
Yeah.
You have mentors and helpers and guides, and the interactive nature of that journey, if we're all on the path, is the at-one-ment process. So we all help each other on our own hero's journeys back to the same place. The mighty companions he talks about. This is what he's referring to. Yeah. And those can be both in form. Those can be people, but they can also be guides. Angels, guides, whatever you want to call them, that can come in and guide you. It's not limited just to this level of reality. He goes with mighty companions beside him. Well, there's a couple of ways of interpreting that. Mighty companions are these spirit guides, are these angels, are these just people who I'm like my tribe in this world, who I really resonate with, and they're people on the same journey. And maybe it's all of it. Yeah. And maybe you need to journey the journey in order to find out. That's the whole point. And then no one can tell you. It's like it's your journey, it's your experience.
Well, I have an inclination there's something up, there's kind of, there's an opening up to non-human.
Yeah. And maybe your ego's a bit scared of that, so then it's trying to keep you away from it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jono.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
It's the spirit's pleasure, really. It's all part of this at-one-ment process. And honestly, I'd say from my own experience, because I've had to go through lots of is this actually ever going to work financially? And you just got to trust. You really do. You just okay, if I'm doing what I feel in my heart is right, and I go with that, and I really follow that intuition, and I follow the guidance as to what I should do, then it's gonna unfold, not in the way your ego wants it to. It's not that sort of plan, but it unfolds, and you are supported and guided, and you will be helped on the journey whenever you need it. So you just got to trust that. Say yes, okay, I'm willing to step in to this unknown domain because I'm really trusting that the guidance is there, that I'm not alone. That the spirit is there, and there's many people in this world who are guided by the spirit, mentors and helpers and guides, and they are there too to help you. So spirit's got your back, so what are you worried about? Dive in, dive deep and swim fast, said Ralph Waldo Emerson, because you shall come back with an advanced experience that shall overlook and transcend the old. I'm paraphrasing, but that's it. You're encouraging us to just dive in. Emerson, dive deep quote. Be not the slave of your own past. Plunge into the sublime seas. Dive deep and swim far. So you shall come back with new self-respect, with new power, and I think I know the rest, with an advanced experience that shall explain and overlook the old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all there. You know, these great thinkers, it's all there for you. These are also the guides. You know, they get a quote like this and say, "Oh wow, you actually this is all there." You know, people have thought about this stuff. They've journeyed it themselves,
Mm.
and now it's my turn
Mm. Mm.
to go on the journey. Sublime seas, dive deep, swim far. So he's talking again about the hero's journey. It's exactly just another pointer to the hero's journey, which is why Joseph Campbell said, like, it's everywhere. You know, this is what everyone is doing, even if they don't realize it. So you're on it, whether you like it or not. The journey's taking you.
I seem to be.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've signed up.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I will see you tonight if you'd like to join us at 6:30.
I've got a yoga class that. Can you switch the YouTube thing off?
Yeah. Sure.